Welcome to the Real Academy, brought to you each Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by
The Resilience DoctHers.
Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, best-selling authors, consultants, and speakers of Create and Educate LLC. Create and Educate LLC is an educational consultant and literary firm that provides professional development to schools and community. Their goal is to transform organizations with the REALL resilient framework used to increase their school report card grades 2 and 3 grade levels in 1 year. REALL stands for Respect, Excellence, Accountability, Literacy, and Leadership. This framework is used to coach leaders and teachers and build student efficacy while putting systems in place that aligns the work of the school improvement, making the process manageable. When the work is manageable, teachers and leaders don't stress out or burn out.
The Resilience DoctHers.
Alignment systems are designed to help schools evolve and grow, all while instituting protocols and processes designed to promote collaboration and collegiality. The implementation of the alignment framework prevents some of the most common problems in education, where leaders sometimes aren't sure where to start, or in our new age of educating, leaders need a trusted sounding board that allows them to be vulnerable and transparent, preventing loneliness at the top. The framework doesn't just help leaders, but also prevents teachers from burning out from too many initiatives and embracing teachers as they are the experts. Finally, the framework extends to the children, helping them get engaged in school and solving a nationwide problem. Alignment systems are frequently referred to as a key element of success in the improvement process. In the sport of rowing, all rowers must put their oars in the water, succinctly creating a system for their boat to reach maximum speed. So schools that want to improve are bringing in
The Resilience DoctHers
to teach them all about the alignment systems that must be in place for school improvement to be accomplished at high levels. The dynamic duo provides insights into educational topics through their international platform, which includes educators, parents, and community members as a way to support important entities that make communities thrive. This is their way to pay it forward and provide the support they needed through their platform. Take a look. People who work with
The Resilience
describe them as an
DoctHers.
excellent and inspiring group of leaders. They get into the weeds of work with leaders through their TrustMate Institute that you should contact them about today by filling out the contact form on their website.
It's Super Saturday, everyone. Welcome to episode 257 of the Real Academy, brought to you by Create and Educate with one half of your Resilience DoctHers. I'm Dr. Sheikah Houston. Looks like Dr. Taylor may be having some technical difficulties this morning, but hopefully she'll get back in. And we're bringing you this morning our Synergy Lab series. All right, Tammy. So we can pick up about where today's episode
Hey,
is about.
everybody.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
today's episode is when good people. Yeah, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
You can hear?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, everybody. I'm in technical uh, difficulties right now. But today's episode is about when good people stop talking, breaking the silence that hurts school culture.
Absolutely. So, if this is your first time joining us, we definitely welcome you. And we always start off with, where did your resiliency show up this week? And for me, I think the resiliency showed up in juggling multiple hats. We were juggling, I got three different schedules: my schedule, which includes work and create and educate task. And then we had band camp, we had volleyball camp. So resiliency definitely showed up this week. What about you, Tammy?
Yes, this has been a very engaging week for preparing for back to school and having everybody that's new get ready to come and join our team. So it's been filled with resiliency because you have to make sure that you are definitely in the work.
Absolutely. So if you're wondering who are the Resilience Doctors, Dr. Taylor is going to tell you who we are.
Yes, we are very glad that you asked who we are because we're best-selling authors, we're children book authors, award-winning educators, speakers, consultants, and school improvement practitioners. Together, we've served as teachers, assistant principals, district leaders, and now founders of Create and Educate.
Absolutely. And after improving our school report card ratings 2 and 3 grade levels in 1 year, educators definitely started to ask, what did you do differently? And that led to the development of our real framework that you see at the top of the pane and over our shoulders, that stands for respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. So we use this framework to transform schools, to align the cultures and systems. And we also start that work uniquely through our Synergy Lab, which is a proven system that helps educators learn how to love the work that they're working on together. It teaches them how to work together with that self awareness, team awareness, generational awareness. They learn about emotional triggers, and then they start to understand themselves better to approach the work better. And then that helps them build that trust and the change that needs to happen for cultures to grow and to transform. Hopefully, if Tammy comes back in, I'll bring her back up. But so the Real Academy has impacted multiple educators, about 300 million students across multiple areas. So we're a part of the free Fantastic Four PD that tunes in every Saturday, and we call Saturday Super Saturday, starting off with Principal Sean Hurt at 10 a.m., who was fantastic this morning. Yours truly, Create and Educate at 10:30. The Leaders Mentor and the GOAT in the AP and New Principals Academy with Principal Kafele starts at 11 right after us. And then on Sundays, join the PGP podcast with Dr. Madi Moreno and Principal Josh Tovar. So if any of the things that we've brought to you on any Saturday, and especially today, has helped you, we ask you to please like, share, subscribe, make the comments, send the stars, do all of the things that the platforms do. And we definitely appreciate everything that you all do with that. And for being here and tuning in every week. We know that you all are intentional about that. All right, Tammy's back. So now we're on to the announcements. Is it, is it showing up? Okay. Shout out to Jacqueline Harriet, our queen from Canada. We enjoyed seeing her, but her after school program that she's over, they completed some boat building in their program for the summer. And these boats, I think they built three, will actually go up for sale. So we're very excited about the work that she's doing. She has added the real framework to their program through books and the frameworks that we use. So we love to share testimonials. So shout out to her and keep up the great work. And we are also presented at Coach Fest. So we hope that if you're able to join, it's going to be in Black Mountain, North Carolina, November the 4th through the 5th. I will post some registration information, but we will both be there presenting about case study coaching. And the Synergy Lab is going on the road to Detroit, Michigan, and Prince George County, Maryland. That will be in August. October, we will be in Nova Scotia, Canada again. Thank you, Queen Jacqueline Harriet. We appreciate you so much for having us and inviting us back. Education is a civil right, and NAPSB is one of the major sponsors, so we appreciate to them as well. And shout out to our friend and colleague, Dr. Kimberly Odom, who is the co-founder of Schoolish, for having us on Ed Table Talk. That's going to be July the 25th from 10 until 1. It is actually sold out. So thank you to everyone who decided to come and join us. And parents, our first teachers, are still tuning in at 7 on WGCD radio. And if you haven't gotten your copy of Amir's Awakening, please purchase that and stay tuned for Elizabeth and Isabella. Are you still fighting? That will be coming to you soon. We have it off to the publisher. And if you all are ready for get those back to school pounds off, make sure you contact us because we can help you with that as well at Elizabeth Nelson Wellness and Weight Loss.
All right, y'all, we're gonna get
All
started.
right. So we ready to get started, Tammy?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, so y'all, we are in talking, thinking about schools and places that we work, because some of us may not be in a school. But have you ever noticed something in your building, but you decided not to say anything? You might have thought, you know what, it's not worth it. Nobody's going to listen anyway. I really don't want to create any kind of conflict. I'll just keep my head down and act like I don't know.
I definitely have. And the problem is when good people stop talking, schools stop growing. So silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it is, but not always. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's frustration, sometimes it's exhaustion, and sometimes it's a sign that people no longer believe their voice matters. So now we're moving on to point one, why good people become silent. Lizzie, get me some water, please. People rarely become silent overnight. Silence is usually built one experience at a time. So maybe someone shared an idea and it was ignored. People don't like to be minimized. Maybe they admitted a mistake and then felt embarrassed instead of, you know, being built back up about it. Maybe they spoke and experienced criticism instead of just realizing sometimes questions are curiosity. And so eventually they decide, well, it's not safe to say anything. And I'm going to venture to say that sometimes this is not just happening with the adults, sometimes this is happening in classrooms as well.
Yeah, and you're right. It's not. It feels like it's not safe. But the tragedy is that schools just don't lose voices. They lose innovation, they lose ideas, creativity, solutions that lie with the people who now are afraid to say anything. And often, when these things happen, schools lose really good people. Now, the cost of silence is a whole other thing because when silence becomes part of the culture, problems don't disappear, even if we're not talking about them. They simply go underground. Teachers stop asking questions, leadership teams stop challenging each other, students stop looking for help, parents stop engaging, everybody just smiling, and under the surface is earthquakes exploding everywhere.
Absolutely. So, healthy disagreement leads to growth, and some people naturally avoid conflict just because they're not confrontational people. But conflict doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be an argument. Conflict doesn't mean that there has to be explosives going off. Sometimes, when you have that unhealthy silence, that is what leads people to stagnation. And you're sitting in the same spot wondering, well, why we're not growing? Why aren't we moving forward? So if no one is asking questions, it doesn't necessarily mean everything is okay. This is why you have to have your really good people as leaders that you can check in with when people may not feel comfortable with you yet, especially if they're new to speak up and speak freely, or maybe they just don't want to talk in front of a group, or maybe that psychological safety hasn't been created yet in the culture. So you got to have your people that you check in with, but it may mean that people no longer feel safe enough to ask. And that is where, there is actually danger in that in your organization. So, moving on to point three here, where leaders create the conditions for honest conversations. One of the most important questions a leader can ask is, do people feel safe enough to tell me the truth? And this is not the what I want to hear truth. We're talking about the actual truth, of course, respectfully, because if the only voice you're hearing are the ones that agree with you, you're missing very valuable perspectives.
Amen, Sheikah Houston. Amen. Sometimes leaders want to lead from that delusional perspective that anybody that disagrees with me is the enemy. And
Mhm.
that creates this kind of culture that nobody feels like they can trust the person that they're working for enough to be honest. And leaders build trust only when they listen without becoming defensive. If they ask questions before giving answers, you interrupt somebody every time they get ready to say something, you already thought of that. Oh, I already thought about that. Yes, I thought about that before. You thank people for their honesty, and you have to be the big enough person to really appreciate that feedback and take it and use it to get better. You have to treat feedback like a gift instead of a threat, because those small moments tell people whether or not it's safe to speak and whether or not you value their perspectives on things.
Absolutely, Tammy, you have hit the nail on the head. And there are a lot of delusional people out there that do think, oh, if anybody says anything against me, they're not bought in. They're not a team player. We've heard all of the things before. They're always negative just because you're hearing a different perspective. But if you're a leader and you can't take honest feedback, you got to kind of question that leadership ability that you have. And so, and I didn't do the shout outs this morning because we are having all these technical difficulties, but definitely want to shout out Coach Dot. She went through a procedure this week. And so we are definitely happy to see her on and happy to see everybody on. But we are very thankful for her and that everything went well.
Yeah.
So now we are going to align to the real framework as we always do each week, because the framework is what helps everybody align the work in different areas. So that we're starting with respect. So this means that we honor every voice, even when they disagree. And I'll be honest, sometimes that disagreement may not always feel comfortable because it's pushing back on you. I used to have a person on my staff who was that person, but I realized that, okay, well, even though she's not agreeing with what I'm saying, her points are valid. But I had to put my big girl pants on and understand that this is not coming from a place of I'm trying to tear you down. This is coming from a place I'm trying to help us be better. So
Right.
you got to hear that through the right lens. When you're hearing that information, you got to filter it right. So then there's excellence. Strong organizations improve because people continuously learn from one another. You are not the person with all the answers. It takes all of us to be excellent and great. Accountability. Create responsibility without creating fear. So we can definitely hold people accountable without making them feel as if, they're going to be out the door if one thing doesn't happen. Literacy, we have to learn to read what people aren't saying, not just what they are saying. So this goes back to that being able to read the room. You got to pick up on the body language, the looks. You know who your people are. Who I'm one of those people. You can always read my face and tell what I'm thinking. You know who those people are. Look for them when the meeting, when you're going over something, is really see how they feel, because those facial expressions will tell you as well. And then leadership, you build a culture where truth is welcomed because everyone is committed to improvement.
Oh, I love that, Shika, because you're right. When you surround yourself with people who think just like you, or people who are going to agree with you no matter what, you limit yourself too, because the strongest leaders don't surround themselves with people who always agree. They surround themselves with people who care enough to speak honestly. And that's what I love about being able to interact. And like you were saying, you had that person on the staff who was going to give you a different perspective. We welcome that as leaders, because if you don't have somebody to give you the alternate perspective, you can go on as if things are wonderful, because you may be in that delusion too. You may be thinking, oh yeah, everything's wonderful, and all around you Rome is burning down. I can remember when you remember we had a period in our career where, we're looking at each other like, does anybody else see we need to call the fire department? Like, what is going on here? But people don't always value that. I That's something that I am very accustomed to, because my husband and I think as differently as night and day. But what I can say about when we are thinking about things, or we're talking through things, he gives me a very different perspective to see things from. So that, I think, is healthy when you're trying to figure out exactly what's best for the sake of improvement, because as you said, that truly is the bottom line. And we want to go on so we can make sure that we let you guys in on how Synergy Lab can help, because that's our point five. At Create and Educate, we believe people communicate better when they understand one another. That's why our lab focuses on self awareness, team awareness, emotional trigger awareness, generational awareness, communication styles. These are all things that we love to do, because we know that when teams understand why people think differently, conflict actually decreases, conversations can improve, and trust grows, so that you ultimately can see that the academic achievement does improve.
Absolutely, Tammy. And our goal isn't to eliminate different opinions. Our goal is to create environments where different perspectives lives become one of the school's greatest strengths, because that is actually where real synergy happens. And I saw a quote from Dr. Jackson that said, when fear enters the building, honesty leaves. The moment people become afraid to speak up is the moment leadership begins operating in the dark. And that
Mm,
is his quote. And he's absolutely right. You have to have, I think, a confidence in your leadership in order to be able to hear different perspectives. And I think
mm,
that when you are a person who tries to silence people, when you only want your thoughts to be the only thoughts that are in the room or the ones that matter, that comes from a place of insecurity.
mm-hmm.
It definitely does not come from a place of strength and leadership. And shout out to my mom for being on as well. And Stacy L. Joy just said the same thing I said, that maturity and a loving leader is able to see and accept others' perspectives. Absolutely. And so, when we are helping you all with these things, you will start to see a difference in your the way that things are happening at your school with the Synergy Lab. And we've done it several different places, and it makes a really big difference. So, your reflection, your real reflection questions for this week: think about your leadership team, your faculty, your department, and ask yourself, who has stopped talking? And more importantly, what happened that caused them to believe their voice no longer mattered? And you really have to be a person who's also in touch with your people to know who your people who stopped talking were. And if you're a person who is just you bumping around in the dark and you don't even know, well, I don't know. You better start paying attention, because as a leader, that is a question that you should definitely be able to answer if you are effective.
Honey, and I'm gonna start telling people when I see them walking around in the dark, I'm gonna tell them Dr. Jackson said you better turn this light on so you can see.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am. But the the thing that you said, Sugar, that really resonates is you cannot be that person and think that you're going to effectively lead. You
Mhm.
have to be cognizant of what's going on around you, because sometimes the next breakthrough that the school needs is sitting very quietly in the room, waiting for
Mm.
somebody to create a safe space for them to speak.
Absolutely, Tammy. A lot of these problems that are existing in buildings, your solutions are sitting there and have not been given the safety that they need to speak up and to help you solve the problem. So remember, it takes a team, and you've got to show people that you value them as your team. So, thank you all for joining us for episode 257 of the Real Academy. We apologize for the technical difficulties. And if
Yeah.
you're ready to build a school where communication is open, trust is strong, and every team member feels empowered to contribute, we invite you to partner, because at Create and Educate, we transform schools from the inside out by aligning people, culture, and systems. And this is done through the REALL framework that we use in the Synergy Lab. And it's a proven school improvement system. And we help leaders to build resilient schools where students thrive and educators love to work. So please ask us about bringing the Synergy Lab to your area. And we thank you all for tuning in. And don't forget to join Principal Kafele next in the AP and New Leaders Academy. And then on Sunday, join Principal Josh Tovar and Dr. Marty Moreno, and he may be still having some guest substitute while she's in Tanzania. And then back on Super Saturday, starting off with 10 a.m. with Principal Sean Hurt, yours truly, Create and Educate at 10:30, and Principal Kafele at 11. Thank you all. Have a real amazing Super Saturday.